Sometimes silence is the loudest scream. Backseat of Daniel's car, a Toyota Camry that's clean and new. Me, I'm sitting in the backseat with suitcase beside me. A small suitcase where 50 years of life are packed into one suitcase. Daniel at the wheel, silent and tense, not looking in the mirror with no eye contact. "Dad," he says finally with monotone voice, "you need to understand that Emily and I want to build our own life where the house is too big for you. And you can't take care of it. And besides, you could get sick with forgetfulness." Am I sick? The doctor said it's normal for my age, but Daniel says sick. Meadowbrook is a nice place, he continues. There are doctors, nurses, activities, and people your age where you'll be happy there. Happy? I'm being kicked out of my own home by my own son. Is this happiness? I say nothing where I just look out the window as houses pass by on familiar streets in the town I've lived in for 48 years. And now I'm leaving. Phone in my pocket where I type a message quietly to attorney Margaret Lawson. "Margaret? Come to your office tomorrow morning because we're changing the will, urgent." Send. Message sent. Daniel doesn't know and Emily doesn't know because they want to take the house, the $4,200,000 house, send old dad to the nursing home, and take the house as simple plan. But I have a plan too where within 72 hours everything will change and Daniel will lose the $4,200,000 inheritance, all of it. Because my son saw me as an old burden saying, "It'll come to me anyway." But now he'll learn because Father will teach his final lesson. This is me, William Carter, 68 years old from Connecticut. And this story is about my son sending me to a nursing home and me teaching him the lesson of his life. Because inheritance must be earned where blood ties aren't enough and respect is required. If stories like this interest you and you want to listen stories of family betrayal and justice, please subscribe to the channel because every day I share the real dramas of real people that are shocking, emotional, and educational. Every success story starts with a dream, and mine started with a small pickup truck. My name is William Carter, and I'm 68 years old. But the story started 40 years ago in 1978 when I was 28 years old. Connecticut, small town called Bridgeport, a working-class town with factories, dock workers, and ordinary people. I was a construction worker and a carpenter, a good carpenter. But I worked for someone else's company, Boss Miller, who was a tough guy with low pay and a lot of work. One day, I told myself, one day I'll have my own company and I'll be my own boss. That year I met Helen at the town library where she was the librarian, 26 years old, beautiful and kind, who loved books. "This book is about civil engineering," she said one day. "Are you a builder?" "Yes, I'm a carpenter, and I'm learning and improving myself," I replied. She smiled. "Ambitious guy, I like that." 6 months later, we got married in a small wedding at the church with 25 guests. Simple but happy. Very happy. Helen and I lived in a small apartment with 2 rooms that was cramped, but it was ours as our first home. "William," Helen said one evening, "you want to start your own company, don't you?" "Yes, but there's no money where we need a loan. We need a truck. We need tools, at least $20,000, I explained. "Then we'll save up where we'll both work with you in construction, and me in the library, where every penny goes for the company," she proposed. We saved for 3 years from 1978 to 1981 with every penny, no vacations, no restaurants, no luxuries, just saving. March 1981 came when we saved enough money, $22,000, a small fortune for us. I bought a truck, a used Ford F-150 that was old but it worked. And I bought tools including saw, hammer, drill, and everything. I started Carter Construction as a one-man company where I was the boss, I was the worker, I was the accountant, and I was everything. First job was the neighbor Mr. Robertson, where I fixed his garage for $200 as small job, but the first job. I worked hard where Robertson was happy. William, great job. I'll tell my friends. He did where he called his friends and jobs started coming in as small jobs, including repairs and renovations. But steady work. In 1982, Daniel was born. My son Daniel, little baby with brown hair and green eyes, Helen's eyes. Helen held him. William, he's our future, and we'll give him everything. Yes, Helen, a good life and a good education, better than ours, I agreed. Daniel grew up as a good kid, cheerful and playful, where every morning on my way to work he would see me off. Bye, Dad. Have a good day. Bye, son. I'll be back in the evening, I'd reply. The 1990s brought growth as the company grew, where I was no longer alone with 5 employees, then 10, then 20. The projects grew beyond home repairs to new home construction and commercial buildings as big projects. In 1995, I was 45, where the company was one of the largest construction firms in Connecticut, with 50 employees and annual revenue of $5 million. Helen was happy. William, I'm proud of you, because from a small truck came a big company, and you did it. We did it, Helen, because you were always by my side, where you supported me and you believed, I acknowledged. Daniel was 12. Dad, I'm going to be a builder too, just like you. I smiled. Great, son, but first a good education and college, then construction. In 2005, the company grew even more, with 60 employees, an annual revenue of $8 million, where we were successful, very successful. We bought a big house in Fairfield, nice neighborhood, with 4 bedrooms, garden, and lake view as my dream house. Helen cried, William, this is perfect as our house and our home forever. Yes, Helen, forever, I agreed. Daniel started high school as good student, but his interest in construction waned. Dad, I want to study business at university because I want to be a businessman. Good son, business is good, and maybe you'll run Carter Construction as the CEO, I suggested. Maybe, Dad, maybe, he considered. In 2007, Daniel started college at Boston College with business major as good school, expensive at $40,000 a year, but we paid it where every penny was worth it. In 2008, Helen got sick with breast cancer at early stage, stage 2. William, said the doctor, we can treat it with chemotherapy and surgery, where the odds are good at 75% survival rate. 75% is good odds, but there's also a 25% chance of losing her, where I was scared, very scared. Helen was strong. William, don't worry because I'll fight and I'll win and I'll see Daniel's wedding. The chemotherapy started as tough treatment, where Helen lost her hair and she got tired, very tired, but she never complained, not once. Daniel was in college, where he came home on weekends. Mom, how are you? Are you okay? I'm fine, baby. Don't worry because I'm strong, she assured. 6 months of treatment came with surgery, then remission, where the cancer was gone, as doctors stated. Helen, you did it! You're clean. We celebrated with small celebration at home, including Daniel, Helen, and me as family together and healthy. Now we'll get back to normal, Helen said. William, keep growing Carter Construction. And Daniel, finish college because I'm proud of you both. In 2011, Daniel graduated with business degree and good grades, where he found a job in Boston at finance company with good salary at $60,000 starting. Dad, I started work. I'm earning my own money, he announced. Congratulations, son. I'm proud of you, I replied. But Daniel rarely came anymore at once a month and sometimes once every 2 months because Boston is far away and work is busy, and I understood. October 2011 came with Helen's checkup, routine checkup every 6 months. The doctor came with serious face. Helen, William, bad news where the cancer is back, and it's metastasized to lungs and liver as stage 4. Stage 4, terminal. How long? I asked with shaky voice. Without treatment, 6 months, and with treatment, maybe a year, maybe less. And I'm sorry, he stated. Helen didn't cry where she just shook her head. I understand, thank you, doctor. In the car, Helen held my hand. William, don't be afraid because I've had a good life with 43 years with you where we raised Daniel and I've been happy. But Helen, I can't do this without you because you are everything to me, I protested. You can, William, because you're strong. And there's Daniel where he'll be there for you, she assured. We called Daniel where he came right away from Boston that night. Mom? What happened? Dad told me cancer? Yes, baby, it's back, but don't worry because I'll fight and I'll buy more time, she stated. Daniel cried loudly. No, Mom, you're going to get better and you're not going to die. Daniel, we're all going to die, we're just me a little sooner, but don't be sad and be happy for me, she instructed. The chemotherapy started again, but this time it wasn't working where the cancer was spreading fast, and Helen grew weak, very weak, where she was admitted to the hospital. Daniel came every week. Mom, you have to hang in there because I'm getting married, and I want you to see my wedding. You're getting married? Who is she? Helen asked. Emily. We met and she's a lawyer, Yale graduate, and wonderful girl. And I'll introduce you, he explained. Helen smiled with weak smile. Good. Be happy, son, and love her. March 2012 arrived when Helen was dying, where I was there every day and every night, and Daniel came too for the last time. William, Helen whispered, look at Daniel because he'll be alone, and you're his father, and you're everything to him. I'll take care of him, Helen, I promise, I assured. And you, don't be alone. Live your life and be happy for me, she instructed. Helen, you are my happiness, and when you're gone, I started. Life goes on, William, so live for me and live for Daniel, please, she pleaded. The last breath came, silent and peaceful, as Helen was gone where 43 years of marriage were over. The funeral was at Bridgeport Church, where many people came, including company employees, customers, and friends, because everyone loved Helen. Daniel stood beside me. Dad, I'm sorry, so sorry, but I'm here and I won't leave you alone, I promise. Thank you, son, thank you, I acknowledged. That promise gave me hope because Daniel is here and I'm not alone, but the promise would be broken, and it would be broken very soon. July 2012 came when Daniel introduced Emily, 4 months after Helen's death. Dad, this is Emily, my fiancée, he announced. Emily was 29 years old, tall and slender with blonde hair, beautiful but cold with cold eyes. Pleased to meet you, Mr. Carter, and Daniel has spoken highly of you, she greeted. Likewise, Emily, welcome, I replied. Lunch at home came where Emily looked around at the furniture, old furniture that Helen had chosen. This house is big. How many bedrooms? She asked. 4. Helen and I lived here for 40 years where Daniel grew up here, I explained. Emily nodded, but she didn't comment where she just watched and assessed. After lunch, Daniel stated, Dad, Emily and I are getting married in December, a small wedding with just family and close friends. Wonderful. I'm so happy for you, I exclaimed. Emily asked, Mr. Carter, will you give a speech at the wedding? A father's speech? Of course. I'd be honored, I agreed. But her tone wasn't sincere where it sounded like an obligation. December 2012 came with the wedding in New Haven at small venue with 60 people, where Emily's family had 30 people and Daniel's side had me and a few friends. Emily's father, Richard, was lawyer and partner in a big firm, rich and very rich, while Emily's mother, Patricia, was socialite, chic and polite but distant. Mr. Carter, said Richard, Daniel mentioned you where you own a construction company. Yes, Carter Construction for 40 years, a successful company, I confirmed. Impressive. You built it yourself as self-made man, he observed. Yes, started small with 1 truck, and now 60 employees, I explained. Patricia interjected. Are you still working? How old are you? 62. Yes, I'm still working because I love my job, I stated. Don't you think about retirement? At this age, people prefer to relax, she suggested. The message was clear where at this age means you're old and relax means retire. The wedding was over as Daniel and Emily went on their honeymoon to Hawaii for 2 weeks. I came home to an empty house with no Helen and no Daniel because he's married and has his own life, leaving me alone. In 2013, Daniel and Emily lived in an apartment in New Haven, where Daniel continued to work in Boston, while Emily practiced law in New Haven. Visits became less frequent, where the first year brought him twice a month, the second year once a month, and the third year once every 2 months. Dad, I'm very busy where Emily has her cases, and I'm moving up at work, so there's no time, he explained. I understand, son, work and be successful, I encouraged. But I missed them so much where the house was quiet and empty with just me. I kept working at the company, but I'm 65 now where I'm tired and I'm thinking about retirement. In 2016 came partial retirement where I stepped down as CEO and stayed on as partner with 30% stake while we brought in a new guy to run the company. And me, I'm a consultant. I called Daniel. Daniel, great news where I retired, and now I have more time so I can see you, and if there are grandchildren, I'll spend time with them. Great, Dad, but there are no grandchildren yet because Emily is focused on her career, so maybe in a few years, he replied. In a few years, always putting it off and always later. In 2016, the forgetfulness started as small forgetfulness, including, where did I put the keys and what was that name? As normal aging. I went to the doctor, Dr. Harrison, our family doctor, for 20 years. William, the tests are normal where mild forgetfulness is age-related and normal. So don't worry because it's not Alzheimer's but just aging, he assured. Are you sure, doctor? I questioned. Very sure where you're 66 and forgetfulness is normal at that age, so take vitamins, exercise, and you'll be fine, he confirmed. I relaxed because not Alzheimer's, just normal aging. But I told Daniel, I went to the doctor where I have mild forgetfulness, but it's normal, and the doctor said so. Dad, seriously? Forgetfulness? What kind? He questioned. Little things like where the keys are and names sometimes, but the doctor said normal, so don't worry, I explained. But Daniel told Emily, and Emily interpreted it differently. A week later, Daniel called. Dad, we talked with Emily where you're getting old and you have memory problems, so maybe you need help, including a helper at home or different living arrangements. What kind of different living arrangements? I asked. Maybe a smaller place like an apartment that's well maintained, or an assisted living facility, for older people, he suggested. For the elderly, a nursing home. Daniel, I'm fine and I'm happy in my home, so I don't need help, I insisted. But Dad, the house is big with 4 rooms where it's hard to maintain and you're alone, and whatever happens if you fall or if you get sick, there's no one there, he worried. Daniel, I'm fine, don't worry, I stated. Okay, Dad, but think about it because Emily and I are thinking about you, he concluded. Are they thinking about me or the house? March 2017 came, Sunday morning, when the doorbell rang showing Daniel with brochures in his hand. Hi, Dad, can I come in? He asked. Of course, son, come in, I welcomed. He came in, sat down with serious face. Dad, I want to show you something. He opened the brochures with colorful pictures. Meadowbrook Life Center, the best senior care facility in Connecticut, with doctors, nurses, activities, and social programs where you'll have peers. I was shocked. Daniel, this is a nursing home. Why are you showing me this? Dad, listen. You're 67 years old, where you're forgetful, the house is too big, you can't maintain it, and you're lonely, But at Meadowbrook, you'll be safe there with professional care and help in an emergency, he explained. But Daniel, I'm happy in this house where Mom and I lived here for 45 years, with memories in every corner. And I can't leave, I protested. Dad, Mom died 8 years ago, where you can't still live with her memories, and you have to move on. But Meadowbrook will give you new friends there and a new life, he reasoned. Daniel, I want to stay in my home, please, I pleaded. He paused, then came the real reason. Dad, Emily and I are thinking of moving into this house because we're planning to have children where the house is perfect for us with big size, garden, and lake view as ideal for kids. I froze. You're moving into my house? Kicking me out? No, Dad, not kick you out, but just you'd be better off in Meadowbrook while we use the house. And anyway, you're old, so how long are you going to live? You'll leave it to us anyway, he stated. That sentence, that damn sentence. How long are you going to live? You'll leave it to us anyway. My heart broke completely where my son sees me as an old burden saying, die quickly and leave the house to us. Daniel, this is my house, Helen's house, and your childhood home, so how can you kick me out? I questioned. Dad, I'm not kicking you out where it's just that Meadowbrook is better and you'll be safe while we take good care of the house where everything makes sense, he rationalized. Is this Emily's idea? I asked. He paused. Yes, Emily thought of it, but I agree. Dad, this is the best option for you and for us. I stood up. Daniel, go, please go, because I need to think. Dad, he started. Go, Daniel, I yelled. He left quickly as the door closed. I sat down for a long time where I looked at Helen's photo hanging on the wall. Helen, our son is kicking me out, where he's kicking me out of our house because he wants the house. And I've become the old burden where he said, how much longer will he last? So how did it come to this? I questioned. No answer came, but there was anger inside me and resolve where Daniel will learn. And if he wants the house, he will lose the house. And if he wants the inheritance, he will lose the inheritance. All of it. I thought about it for 3 days. Thought about it a long time. Then I called Daniel. Daniel, I've made up my mind where I'm going to Meadowbrook, I announced. Silence fell. Then came happy voice. Really, Dad? That's great. The right decision. Yes, but I have one condition where my things in the house and Helen's things, I want them saved. So don't put them in the attic and don't throw them away, I instructed. Of course, Dad. We'll save them, I promise, he agreed. A lie where I know it's a lie, but it doesn't matter because revenge is coming. That day I called Margaret Lawson, my lawyer, and my lawyer for 25 years. Margaret, I need an urgent will change. Where can you come to my office tomorrow to my house? I requested. Of course, William. I'll come tomorrow morning at 10, she agreed. The next day, Margaret came with her briefcase and serious face. William, what happened? Why the urgent will change? She questioned. I explained about Daniel, Emily, wanting to move home, sending them to Meadowbrook, and how long will they stay there? It'll come back to us anyway. Margaret was furious. William, this is unbelievable! Daniel is disinheriting his own father. Yes, Margaret, and he'll learn where he'll get his lesson, and I want a new will, I stated. Tell me, William, I'm listening, she encouraged. All my assets, including the house, the investment portfolio, and the Carter construction stock, all to the Carter Family Foundation, where the foundation will help homeless people in nursing homes, and to Daniel just $1, I instructed. Margaret was stunned. $1? William, are you sure? He's your son. My son sees me as an old burden where he's sending me to a nursing home because he wants the house. So now there will be no house, no inheritance, just $1 and a lesson, I stated. William, think, because this is irreversible where Daniel will be very upset, she warned. Fine. Let him be upset because I was upset for 8 years. 8 years without Helen. And the last 3 days were the most painful 3 days. So now it's Daniel's turn, I declared. Margaret nodded. All right, William. It's your decision where I'll prepare the will, you'll sign it, and we'll have it notarized. 2 days later, the will was ready where I signed it, and the notary certified it as legal, completely legal. And I called Daniel. Daniel, when are we going to Meadowbrook? Really, Dad? Are you ready? He questioned. Yes, I'm ready. Wednesday. Take me on Wednesday, I confirmed. Great, Dad! Thank you for being so understanding, he exclaimed. Understanding? No, Daniel. I'm planning, and I'm planning revenge. Wednesday came, April 12th, 2017, when Daniel arrived with his car, a Toyota Camry. The suitcase was ready as small suitcase where 50 years fit in one suitcase. I took Helen's photo in small frame. Come with me, Helen. Be with me in Meadowbrook. I got in the car and back seat as Daniel was driving. He was silent where I was silent too as I just texted on my phone to Margaret. Margaret, come to the office tomorrow morning for will reading ceremony, where you should call Daniel, Emily, and their lawyers for Friday at 10 o'clock. Sent, done. We're 72 hours left and Daniel's life will change. Because sometimes love isn't enough where sometimes justice is needed, and I bring justice. Meadowbrook Life Center showed modern building, clean and sterile with hospital smell. Daniel carried my luggage as we went to reception, with young woman smiling. Mr. Carter? Welcome. Your room is ready as number 204 on second floor, she announced. Daniel walked beside me. Dad, you'll see because it's nice here, and you'll be comfortable. Comfortable? I was kicked out of my own home. Is this comfortable? We entered the room showing small room with single bed, small bathroom, and window with parking lot view, while my home had lake view. Daniel opened the suitcase. Dad, put your things away because I have to go where Emily is waiting, and we're going to clean the house to get ready to move. How soon are you moving? I asked. In 2 weeks, where we'll bring our things and we'll renovate because Emily wants to renovate the kitchen and the bathrooms where everything will be modern, he explained. Helen's kitchen and the tiles Helen chose, all of it will go. Okay, Daniel, go and get ready, I agreed. He walked to the door and turned around. Dad, I'll come by once a week, okay? I'll visit. Okay, son, I acknowledged. He left as the door closed, leaving me alone in the small room in Meadowbrook. I sat on the bed and looked at Helen's photo. Helen, we're here where our son kicked us out. But don't worry, because revenge is on its way very soon. I couldn't sleep that night because the bed was hard, the room was cold, and sounds from corridor including nurses, patients, and strange voices filled the air. Morning came with breakfast room for group breakfast with 20 old people, all silent, all alone, and all abandoned. A man sat down next to me at 80 years old maybe. Hello, I'm George, are you new? Yes, I arrived yesterday and I'm William, I replied. Welcome, William, and how did you end up here? Did your family bring you? He asked. My son Daniel where he wanted the house, so he sent me here, I explained. George shook his head sadly. I see. Mine was brought by my daughter 2 years ago, saying, Dad, you're old, be safe. But the real reason was my apartment in Manhattan that's valuable. And now she lives there while I live here. Does she visit? I questioned. She came the first month twice, then she never came where 2 years, no visits, not even a phone call, he revealed. My heart ached because George was completely abandoned. And Daniel will do the same where I know. I'll come once a week, he said. But he won't come where a few months later he won't come at all. Breakfast was over as I went back to my room and picked up the phone to call Margaret. Margaret, tomorrow Friday at 10 o'clock. Are you ready? I confirmed. Yes, William. I called Daniel, Emily, and their lawyers where they'll all be there. And I said it was a will reading where they didn't suspect anything, she reported. Good. Tomorrow, everything will change where Daniel will find out, I stated. Friday morning came, April 14th, 2017, sunny day. I called a cab from Meadowbrook to Margaret's office in Fairfield City Center, 10 minutes away. Margaret's office was small but stylish, a lawyer's office called Lawson & Associates. I entered where receptionist greeted, Mr. Carter, welcome. Margaret is waiting in the conference room. I entered the conference room, where Margaret was there sitting at the desk with papers in front of her. William, are you ready? She asked. I'm ready, Margaret. Has Daniel arrived? I questioned. Not yet, 10 minutes. But William, I'm asking you one last time. Are you sure? There's no turning back, she warned. I'm absolutely sure, Margaret, because Daniel made his choice where he chose the house and he didn't choose me. So now the results, I stated. The door opened as Daniel and Emily entered, both stylish, where Daniel in a suit and Emily in a dress with their lawyer. A young man at 30 years old, maybe. Dad! Are you here? Why a will reading ceremony? Are you okay? Are you sick? Daniel questioned. I'm fine, Daniel. Sit down and everything will be explained, I instructed. Daniel, Emily, and their lawyer sat down on the other side while Margaret and I sat on this side. Emily whispered to Daniel where I heard, Daniel, maybe your father is very sick, where he wanted to read the will early, and maybe he thinks he's going to die soon. Daniel replied quietly, I hope not. But if he is, at least we'll get the house and it'll be quick. The house will be ours and it will be quick. That's the real feeling. Let Dad die and let us keep the house. Margaret began, Good morning. The reason we are gathered here is to read the will of William James Carter, where Mr. Carter legally updated his will 3 days ago, and it was notarized. So now I will read it to you. Emily looked at the lawyer. 3 days ago? That's very recent. Margaret looked cold. Legal and completely legal, where there are 2 doctors' reports showing Mr. Carter is of sound mind. So I'll continue. She opened the document and began to read. I, William James Carter of Fairfield, Connecticut, aged 68, being of sound mind, make my will. The first part showed small gifts to friends and former employees. To Joe Miller, my former foreman, $5,000. Daniel relaxed. Dad's generous, good. Margaret continued. Now my principal assets. Everyone perked up as Daniel leaned forward and Emily looked at the lawyer. My home in Fairfield, at 125 Lakeview Drive, valued at $4,200,000, is bequeathed to the Carter Family Foundation, she read. Silence fell, heavy silence, as Daniel froze. What? To the foundation? Margaret continued. My investment portfolio of $2,100,000 has been donated to the Carter Family Foundation. Emily jumped to her feet. That's impossible! Margaret continued calmly. My 30% stake in Carter Construction, valued at approximately $2,500,000, has been donated to the Carter Family Foundation. Daniel turned pale. Dad, what are you doing? Margaret read the final sentence. To my son Daniel Carter, I leave $1 with reason. He saw me as an old burden saying, how long will she live anyway? It'll all come to me. Where he sent me to a nursing home to get the house, so now he has no house, no inheritance, just a lesson in life. The bomb exploded as Daniel froze and Emily screamed, This can't be legal! We will contest it. Margaret spoke coldly. It's completely legal, Mrs. Carter, where Mr. Carter is of sound mind, with 2 doctors' reports, here from Dr. Harrison, the family doctor, and Dr. Stevens, the psychiatrist, who both approved. So Mr. Carter is in full possession of his mental faculties, and the will is valid. Emily turned to the lawyer. You! Say something. Object exclamation mark. The lawyer examined the documents. I'm afraid, Mrs. Carter, the will appears to be legal with doctor's reports and notary's certification, so objecting is difficult. Daniel looked at me with eyes filled with tears. Dad, why? Why did you do this? I'm your son. I stood up. Yes, Daniel, you are my son, but you saw me as an old burden where you said, how much longer will he live? And you sent me to Meadowbrook to get the house. But Dad, I thought it was for your own good, he started. Lie! I yelled for the first time, really yelled. You thought of the house's good, Daniel. You said, Emily and I will move into the house. You said, we'll have children. You said, Dad will leave it to us anyway. I heard you in the car the day you left me at Meadowbrook, where you said to Emily, I hope it happens quickly and the house will be ours. And I heard you, Daniel. I heard it all, I revealed. Daniel's face fell. I didn't mean... You did, Daniel. You definitely did. And now the result. The house went to the foundation to old people abandoned by their families like George at Meadowbrook, whose daughter left him for a Manhattan apartment with no visits for 2 years, I stated. Now the foundation will help them where the house will be used for them while you and Emily won't get anything. Just $1, I concluded. Emily slammed her fist on the table. Daniel! You idiot! You pissed off your father! We lost a $4 million house! Because of you! But Emily, I didn't know Dad would do that, Daniel protested. Of course he would! You put him in a nursing home. You said it'll be ours anyway. I warned you. I said be careful, don't upset your father. She accused. That's a lie because Emily never said that, where Emily always said, send him to a nursing home. But now she's blaming Daniel. Daniel cried, Dad, please, I acted stupidly and I'm sorry, so please change the will where I'll change and take me out of Meadowbrook and come home to live with me. Now, Daniel? Now you want to live with me? Now that the inheritance is gone, now Dad matters? I questioned. No, Dad. You always mattered. I just thought wrong, he stammered. Daniel, you made a choice where you chose Emily, you chose the house, and you chose the money, so now the consequences. $1 and a lesson, I stated. Margaret stepped in. Mr. Carter, there's also a note that your father wrote to you. She handed him the envelope as Daniel took it, trembling, and opened it, showing handwriting on paper. I read it to him aloud. Daniel, I always told you when you were a child, family is everything, but you thought family only meant inheritance, including home, money, and property. But family means love, respect, and loyalty. You didn't show love where 8 years Helen died and 8 years I was alone. And your visits dwindled to once a month and once every 2 months because Emily's social life was important, I continued. Then my forgetfulness started as normal aging, where the doctor said so, but you saw an opportunity saying, she's sick, and she should be sent to a nursing home, because you wanted the house, I read. Now learn, Daniel. True wealth is in love and respect, not money and not a house, but people and family. That is true wealth, the letter stated. I'm happy at Meadowbrook with George and my other friends because they understand me, and we've all experienced the same pain of being abandoned by family, I continued. I left you $1 symbolically, where legally it can't be completely rejected, but the message is clear. You are no longer my heir, where the foundation is my heir, and the elderly are my heir, the letter concluded. Goodbye, Daniel. Good luck. And I hope one day you'll understand, Father, I finished. Daniel cried loudly as the paper trembled in his hand. Father, no, please, I understand. I really do. Emily spoke coldly. Daniel, let it go because it's over where your father has made his decision. So let's appeal and let's sue because we'll argue mental incompetence. Margaret looked stern. Ms. Carter, if you sue, you'll lose, and the legal fees will be very high, so my advice is accept it and move on. Emily turned to Daniel. You're not going to do anything? $4 million gone. The house is gone, and you're just sitting there crying. What can I do, Emily? Dad's right where I was wrong, and I used him. So now this is the result, Daniel acknowledged. Emily picked up her purse. I'm leaving where I'm going to talk to the lawyer, and I'll find out what our options are. And you stay if you want to cry with your father. She left quickly as the door slammed. Daniel buried his head in his hands, crying, Dad, Emily left where she's blaming me, and the marriage is over, and everything is ruined. I went over to him and touched his shoulder. Daniel, Emily loved you for the money where she loved you for the house, and now there's no money, so no Emily. And that's good because you've learned the truth. But Dad, I love her where we're married for 2 years, he protested. Daniel, real love stays through hard times, and Emily left in hard times, so that's not real, I stated. Dad, what am I going to do? No house, no money, maybe no Emily, and I'm alone, he questioned. Yes, Daniel, you're alone and now you feel it. What I felt for 8 years, loneliness and abandonment. So maybe now you understand, I explained. Margaret stood up. Daniel, would you like to talk to your father privately? I can step outside. No, Margaret, stay, because no more hiding where Daniel needs to hear all of it, I insisted. Daniel lifted his head. Dad, I'm listening. Tell me and say what you have to say. I sat down across from him. Daniel, you were a good kid when you were little, as cheerful and loving, where you'd say, Dad, I love you, every day. But as you grew up, you changed through college, work, Boston, and Emily, where everything changed and you didn't say, I love you anymore. And the visits became fewer, I observed. When Helen died in 2012, you said, Dad, I'm here for you. But you weren't where you came a little the first year. Then it stopped when you married Emily, and it stopped completely, I stated. I was alone, Daniel, so alone where the house was empty with no Helen and no you, just me and the memories, I continued. Then the forgetfulness started as normal aging where the doctor said so, but you saw an opportunity saying she's sick and we should send her to a nursing home, I revealed. That Sunday morning you came with the brochures saying, Meadowbrook is a nice place. But you told me the real reason. Emily and I are moving into the house. We're having a baby. You're old. How long will you live anyway? You'll leave it to us, I quoted. That sentence, Daniel, broke my heart and shattered it, because I understood that you don't love me. You love the house, you love the inheritance, and you love the money, I concluded. Daniel cried, No, Dad. I love you and I always have. It's just that Emily influenced me where she said the house would be good for us, and I was weak and I listened. Daniel, being weak is no excuse because you're a grown man at 34 years old, where you have to make your own decisions. And Emily influenced you, yes. But the final decision was yours, I stated. And you chose the house where you sent me to Meadowbrook. So now the result? $1 and loss of everything, I declared. Margaret interjected. William, Daniel, I have to say this where a will can be changed. And if William wants to, if he sees real change, he can change it. Daniel looked hopeful. Dad, really? If I change? If I leave Emily? If I get you out of Meadowbrook? Will you change the will? I paused and thought. Daniel, right now you're emotional where the loss is fresh. But a month from now or 6 months from now, will you still be changed? Yes, Dad. Yes, I promise. I will change. I'll visit every week. I'll call every day. I'll live with you, he exclaimed. You say that now, Daniel, because the money is gone. But 6 months from now, if the money doesn't come back, will you be the same? I questioned. Yes, Dad. Yes. I've learned. I've really learned. Money doesn't matter. You matter. Family matters, he insisted. I stood up. All right, Daniel. I'll test you for 6 months where you will come to Meadowbrook every week to visit just for me with no money and no inheritance, just father and son. If you come for 6 months every week, then I'll think about changing the will, I proposed. But if you skip even 1 week or if you make excuses, then it's over where nothing changes, deal, I concluded. Daniel jumped to his feet. We have a deal, Dad. I promise. Every week. I'll come every week. We'll start over as father and son again. We'll see, Daniel, we'll see. And now go and talk to Emily about whether marriage can be saved or not, and decide, but know this. If Emily came for the money and the money's gone, she's gone, I stated. Daniel nodded. I know, Dad. I know. And I'll talk to her. He left slowly as the door closed quietly. Margaret looked at me. William, really? Would you really change the will? I don't know, Margaret. Maybe if Daniel really changes. But now I'm skeptical because Emily will end the marriage where Daniel will be sad. But then maybe he'll understand that it's not about the money and love is important, I explained. 2 weeks passed to April 28th, 2017, Saturday. I was sitting in Meadowbrook in my room, quiet and alone. The doorbell rang as the nurse announced, Mr. Carter, you have a visitor in the lobby. A visitor? Who? Daniel? I went down to the lobby where Daniel was there alone with no Emily and face tired and sleep-deprived. Hello, Dad, he greeted. Hello, Daniel, you came, I acknowledged. Yes, I promised every week. And here I am, he confirmed. We went to the sitting room, a quiet room with a few elderly people watching television. Dad, Emily filed for divorce yesterday where the lawyer sent the papers, he revealed. I wasn't surprised because I was expecting it. The reason? The reason is irreconcilable differences. But the real reason is money where the house is gone, the inheritance is gone, and Emily doesn't want to stay, he explained. Are you sad? I asked. Yes, but at the same time I'm relieved because you were right where Emily loved me for my money. And now there's no money, so no Emily. And the truth is out, he acknowledged. Good, Daniel. Painful, but a learning experience, I stated. Dad, I quit my job in Boston where I came back to Connecticut to Bridgeport, and I rented a small apartment while looking for a new job here to be close to you, he announced. I was surprised, really surprised. You quit your job in Boston with good salary and career, all of it? Yes, Dad, because you're here, and I want to be with you where money doesn't matter and career doesn't matter, but you matter, he stated. My eyes welled up. Daniel, this is a big change, but it's a test for 6 months, remember? I won't forget, Dad. I'll be here every week on Saturday where I'll spend time with you. We'll talk. We'll go for walks as real father and son, he promised. That day we spent 2 hours together where we talked about the past, Helen, Carter construction, and everything. And for the first time in years, we had a real conversation. As Daniel left, he stated, Dad, next week I'll come back next week on Saturday at same time, okay? Okay, Daniel, I'll be waiting, I agreed. And he came every week for 6 months. May brought 4 visits every Saturday. June brought 4 visits where he never missed one. July brought 4 visits during vacation time, but he didn't go on vacation where he stayed with me. Dad, I don't want a vacation because I want to be with you. August came when he found a job in Bridgeport at small company doing accounting with salary at half his old salary. But he took it because it's in Connecticut close to me. Dad, I started the job where the pay is low, but it doesn't matter because being here matters. September brought finalized divorce from Emily officially, where Daniel was sad, but he accepted it. Dad, the marriage is over, but maybe it's for the best because Emily wasn't right for me, and you warned me, but I didn't listen. October came as the 6th month and the final test month. He came every Saturday, never missed, and never made excuses where he just came as father and son, where we talked, we walked, and we were together. Last Saturday came, October 28th, when Daniel came as usual. Dad, 6 months are up where I came every week and never missed, so I passed the test right. I looked at him long and hard. Daniel, you've changed, and you've really changed where you quit your job in Boston. You moved here. You took a lower-paying job. You divorced Emily, and you came every week with no excuses. This is real change, real remorse, and real love, I acknowledged. Yes, Dad, because I learned that money is temporary, work is temporary, and even marriage is temporary. But family and Dad, these are permanent and these are real, he stated. I stood up and hugged him for the first time in 6 months. Really hugged him. Daniel, you passed the test and you really did. So now I'm going to call Margaret, where the will be changed. Daniel cried happily. Dad, thank you. Thank you for the second chance. But Daniel, the will change, but it won't go back to the way it was, I clarified. What do you mean? He questioned. The house is still the foundation to help the elderly where that stays. But the investment portfolio and the Carter construction stock, those will go to you 50-50, where half to you and half to the foundation, I explained. Dad, that's fair, very fair, and I accept. Thank you, he agreed. November 2018 arrived. A year had passed since the test ended. Daniel still came every week, not for the test anymore, but out of habit and out of love. Dad, being with you does me good where the stress eases and the work fatigue goes away, and you give me peace, he stated. The Carter Family Foundation was launched where the house was sold for $3,800,000, and the money went to the foundation as help for the elderly in Meadowbrook began. George, we reached George's daughter through the foundation, where his daughter was embarrassed. I forgot my father, and I'm sorry, and now she visits twice a month. 5 more elderly people abandoned by their families received help, where the foundation pays for them, including care, medicine, and the visiting program, everything. Margaret reported, William, the foundation is doing great work where we helped 5 elderly people, and we reunited them with their families as real change. Good, Margaret. Helen would be happy because she was always so generous, and now we're helping in her name, I stated. Daniel found a new girlfriend named Sarah, a teacher at elementary school who was modest and kind, the complete opposite of Emily. Dad, I want to introduce you to Sarah this weekend on Saturday where we'll come together, he announced. Great, Daniel. I look forward to it, I replied. Saturday came when Daniel and Sarah arrived where Sarah was 32 years old with brown hair and beautiful smile, warm smile like Helen's smile. Mr. Carter, it's nice to meet you where Daniel has talked about you a lot, she greeted. Me too, Sarah. Welcome. And Daniel has changed a lot for the better, so I hope you're happy too, I replied. I'm very happy where Daniel is a wonderful person who's modest, hardworking, and respectful of family values, and I love him, she stated. Respectful of family values, that's the important word, where Emily wasn't respectful of family values, but Sarah is respectful. We spent 3 hours together where we talked, we ate, and we laughed, and for the first time in years, I felt like a family. As Daniel and Sarah were leaving, Daniel stated, Dad, we'll come back next week where Sarah wants to spend more time with you. Great, me too, and Sarah's a good girl, not like Emily, so this is good, I observed. Daniel smiled. I know, Dad, I think so too. December 2018 came when Daniel and Sarah got engaged. Dad, we're getting married next year in June as small wedding, and you'll be the best man, where you'll give the father's speech. My eyes welled up. Daniel, I'm honored, and I'm so happy for you. Dad, one more thing. Sarah and I are going to have a baby soon, and the baby's name, if it's a boy, will be William, your name, and if it's a girl, will be Helen, my mom's name, he announced. I cried silently. Daniel, thank you. The most beautiful gift, and Helen would be so happy. That night I slept peacefully because everything was in its place. Daniel changed where he really changed, and instead of money he chose love, instead of career he chose family, and instead of Emily he chose Sarah. And I'm happy in Meadowbrook because I'm not alone anymore where I have Daniel every week. Sarah is there, the foundation is there, and the elderly are there, and all of them are family. I looked at Helen's photo on the table, the photo I talk to every night. Helen, our son is back where we lost him, but we found him. And he made mistakes, but he learned. So now he's okay, and everything is okay. The house is gone, but for a good cause for the elderly, including George and others. And you would have wanted it this way, I know, I continued. And we'll have a grandchild named William or Helen, where both of our names and the legacy will continue. But this time the right legacy, as a legacy of love and family legacy, I stated. I love you, Helen, and I always will. And now I'm at peace, truly at peace, I concluded. I turned off the light and slept peacefully. Because sometimes the hardest lesson is the best lesson, where Daniel learned by losing $4 million. But he gained something more valuable. A father's love, family bonds, and true values. And I taught by giving my final lesson, where money is temporary and home is temporary, but family is permanent and love is permanent. True wealth is in love and respect, not money and not property, but people, family, and bonds. And Daniel finally understood. This is enough. This is everything. June 2019 arrived, 3 years after the will reading. Daniel and Sarah's wedding day came at a small venue in Bridgeport, with 80 guests including Sarah's family, Daniel's colleagues, foundation members, and elderly friends from Meadowbrook, including George. I stood at the altar as best man wearing my best suit that Helen had bought me 15 years ago. Daniel stood beside me in his groom's suit, nervous but happy. Dad, thank you for being here and for giving me a second chance. You earned it, Daniel, by showing real change and real love, I replied. Sarah walked down the aisle in a simple white dress, beautiful and radiant, where her father walked beside her. The ceremony began as the pastor spoke. We are gathered here today to witness the union of Daniel Carter and Sarah Mitchell. I watched with tears in my eyes, because this was nothing like Daniel's first wedding, where Emily's wedding was about show and status. But this wedding was about love and family. The vows came where Daniel spoke first. Sarah, I promise to love you not for what you have, but for who you are, to put family before career, and to remember the lessons my father taught me about what truly matters in life. Sarah replied, Daniel, I promise to stand by you through all circumstances, to build a home filled with love, not luxury, and to honor your family as my own. They exchanged rings as the pastor declared, I now pronounce you husband and wife. The reception came where I gave the father's speech with microphone in hand, and Daniel and Sarah sitting at the head table. 3 years ago, I did something difficult where I disinherited my son, leaving him only $1. I began as the room fell silent. Some people thought I was cruel, but what they didn't understand was that sometimes the cruelest thing is to let someone lose themselves without fighting to bring them back, I explained. Daniel had forgotten what mattered where he chose money over love, status over family, and a house over his father, I continued. So I took away the money, the status, and the house to show him what remained, and what remained was the truth, that he had a father who loved him, values that his mother and I taught him, and a capacity for real love that he had buried, I stated. Today I see the man Daniel has become, not because of money, but in spite of losing it. And I see the woman who loves him not for what he has, but for who he is, I observed. Sarah, welcome to our family because you've already brought so much joy. And Daniel, I'm proud of you, not for what you own, but for who you've become, I concluded. To Daniel and Sarah, May your marriage be rich in the things that truly matter. Love, respect, and family, I toasted. The room erupted in applause as Daniel stood up and hugged me. Dad, I love you, and everything I have today, including Sarah, this wedding, and our future child, all of it exists because you loved me enough to teach me the hard lesson. George approached later in the evening. William, your speech was beautiful where my daughter heard it, and she's crying now because she realized what she almost lost. So thank you for creating the foundation that brought us back together. George, that's what the foundation is for, to remind families what matters before it's too late, I replied. December 2019 came when Sarah went into labor at Bridgeport Hospital. Daniel called at 3 a.m. Dad, it's time. Sarah's in labor. Can you come? I'm calling a cab right now and I'll be there in 20 minutes, I assured. I arrived at the hospital where Daniel met me in the waiting room, pacing nervously. Dad, she's been in labor for 4 hours and the doctor says it'll be soon. She'll be fine, Daniel, and soon you'll be a father, I encouraged. 2 hours later, the nurse emerged. Mr. Carter, you can come in now. We entered the room where Sarah lay in bed looking exhausted but glowing, holding a small bundle wrapped in blue blanket. It's a boy, she whispered with tired smile. Daniel approached and gently took his son. Dad, meet your grandson, William James Carter Jr. I looked at the tiny face with closed eyes and small fists. Hello, William, I'm your grandfather, Big William, and you're named after me and after your great-grandmother's father. Daniel placed the baby in my arms where for the first time I held my grandson, and tears streamed down my face. Helen, can you see this? I whispered, looking upward. Our grandson, our legacy continuing, and Daniel is the father we raised him to be. Sarah spoke softly. Mr. Carter, thank you for teaching Daniel what it means to be a good man, because now he'll teach our son the same lessons. Daniel added, Dad, I promise to raise William with the values you taught me, where he'll learn that family comes first, that love is more valuable than money, and that character matters more than status. And when he's old enough, I'll tell him the story about how his grandfather loved his father so much that he was willing to take everything away to save him, Daniel stated. I smiled through tears. That's all I could ever want. And Helen would be so proud of you, Daniel. So very proud. April 2021 arrived. 4 years since the will reading, and 1 year since William Jr.'s birth. I sat in my room at Meadowbrook with Helen's photo on the table and a new photo beside it showing Daniel, Sarah, and baby William. The Carter Family Foundation had grown, where the house sale money plus additional donations now helped 15 elderly residents reconnect with their families. Margaret visited that afternoon. William, I have the final paperwork for the updated will, where, as we discussed, 50% of your remaining assets go to Daniel and Sarah, and 50% to the foundation. Perfect, Margaret, because Daniel proved himself where he passed the test not just for 6 months, but for 4 years of consistent love and dedication, I stated. You know, William, in my 30 years as a lawyer, I've seen many family disputes over money, but I've never seen someone use an inheritance to teach rather than punish, and the result is remarkable, she observed. Margaret, I didn't want to punish Daniel, but to wake him up because the boy I raised was still in there buried under ambition and bad influence, and I had to dig him out even if it meant breaking his heart first, I explained. Daniel arrived an hour later pushing William in a stroller. Dad, we came for our Saturday visit, and William has something to show you. The baby, now 16 months old, toddled toward me on unsteady legs. Gampa! Gampa! I picked him up. Hello, my boy. You're walking so well. Daniel sat down beside me. Dad, Sarah and I have been talking where we want to move closer to Meadowbrook, maybe Bridgeport, so we can visit more, often. and we're looking at houses we can actually afford on my salary. We don't need a $4 million house with lake view, because what matters is that we're close to family, he added. Daniel, that's wonderful, because seeing you and William every week brings me more joy than any house ever could, I replied. Sarah arrived from parking the car. Mr. Carter, I brought something, she said, while pulling out a photo album. These are pictures from our first year as a family, and I thought you'd like to have copies for your room. We spent the next hour looking through photos showing William's first smile, first tooth, first steps, and family gatherings. This one is my favorite, Sarah pointed to a picture of 3 generations. Me holding baby William, while Daniel stood beside us. 3 William Carters together. As they prepared to leave, Daniel hugged me. Dad, I know I say this every week, but thank you for not giving up on me. And I know that taking away the inheritance and giving me $1 was the greatest gift you ever gave me because it forced me to find out who I really was. You would have given it all back, Daniel. But you had to learn first. And now you have something better. A wife who loves you for yourself. A son who will grow up with the right values. And peace of mind that comes from living with integrity, I stated. After they left, I sat with Helen's photo. Helen, our work is done where Daniel understands now that the wealth we built wasn't for accumulating, but for teaching. And the house we lived in wasn't for keeping, but for helping others. The foundation helps 15 elderly people now, including George, who reconnected with his daughter. And our grandson will grow up learning that love and family matter more than money, I continued. I'll join you soon, my love. Maybe this year or next. But I'm at peace because Daniel is truly happy. Not with millions of dollars, but with a modest life filled with love, I concluded. And that $1 I left him? He framed it and hung it in his living room with a plaque that reads, "The most valuable dollar I ever received because it taught me what truly matters," I added with smile. May 2022 came, 5 years after the will reading, when my health began to decline. Dr. Harrison visited me at Meadowbrook. William, your heart is weakening where we can try treatments, but at your age these would only buy a little time with significant discomfort. How long without treatment? I asked calmly. Maybe 3 to 6 months, perhaps less, he estimated. Then no treatment because I've lived a full life, and I'm ready to join Helen, I decided. Daniel took the news hard when I told him, Dad, no, we just got you back and William needs his grandfather. Daniel, I'm 72 years old, and I've seen my son transform from lost to found. I've held my grandson. I've seen the foundation help dozens of families, and I've made peace with the past, I explained. I'm not sad, Daniel, because I'm grateful. And when I go, I want you to remember that the greatest wealth I leave you isn't money, but the lessons. That family is everything, that love conquers greed, and that sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones we need most, I stated. The next 3 months brought daily visits from Daniel, Sarah, and William, where we talked, laughed, and made final memories. One afternoon, George visited. William, I heard you're not doing well, and I wanted to thank you because 4 years ago I was alone with a daughter who forgot me, but your foundation brought her back where now she visits twice a week, and we've rebuilt our relationship. You gave me back my daughter, William, and I wanted you to know that before you go, he stated with tears. The elderly residents at Meadowbrook held a small ceremony in my honor, where 15 people whose families reconnected through the foundation shared their stories. Mr. Carter gave us hope when we had none, one woman said. He showed our children that we still matter, and he taught us that it's never too late for reconciliation. August 2022 came when I grew very weak, where I could barely leave my bed. Daniel sat beside me holding my hand. Dad, I love you, and thank you for everything, for raising me, for believing in me even when I lost my way, and for loving me enough to teach me the hard lesson. Daniel, You've made me so proud where you're the man your mother and I always hoped you'd become. And William will grow up with a father who understands what truly matters. I replied weakly. Dad, I need you to know that I understand now why you did what you did, where that $1 wasn't punishment, but a lifeline you threw me when I was drowning in greed and materialism, he stated. And catching that lifeline meant losing everything I thought I wanted, so I could find everything I actually needed, he added. Sarah brought baby William, who was now 2 years old. Gampa, I love you, the child said while patting my hand gently. I love you too, William. And you be a good boy for your mommy and daddy. And remember that the best things in life aren't things, but people who love you, I instructed. That night, August 15th, 2022, I lay in bed looking at Helen's photo one final time. Helen, I'm coming home where I kept my promises to you because I took care of Daniel. I taught him what matters, and I helped others the way you would have wanted. Our grandson bears our family name and will carry forward the legacy of love and integrity that we built, I stated. Wait for me, my love. I'll be there soon, I concluded. I closed my eyes peacefully. The funeral was held at Bridgeport Church with over 200 attendees, including Daniel's family, foundation members, Meadowbrook residents, and community members whose lives were touched by the foundation. Daniel gave the eulogy with William in Sarah's arms. My father taught me the most important lesson of my life by taking away my inheritance and leaving me $1. 5 years ago, I thought that was the cruelest thing he could do, but I now understand it was the most loving, he stated. He saw me losing myself to greed and materialism, and he loved me enough to strip away the illusions so I could see the truth, he explained. Because of that $1 I found my wife Sarah. I rebuilt my relationship with my father. I learned what it means to be a good man, and I know how to raise my son with the right values, he continued. My father's legacy isn't the money he made or the houses he owned, but the lives he changed, including mine, the families he reunited through his foundation, and the lesson he taught about what truly matters, he concluded. Dad, I love you. I forgive you for the pain of that lesson, and I thank you for loving me enough to teach it, he stated while looking at the casket. You gave me $1, but you gave me everything. The gravestone beside Helen's reads, William James Carter, 1950 to 2022, beloved husband, father, and grandfather, who taught that love is the only inheritance that truly matters. If you liked this story, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts about this story in the comments. Click on the box on the left to listen to the next story.